Let me get this straight. You blew up a building.
2 CIs and the CEO of 22andU.
2 competing federal agencies with the same mission.
I don't understand why those Fed a-holes are so darn mean.
To protect the public from the scourge of dangerous misinformation.
You know those bum idiots. This is all them. We had a solid case.
The word entrapment, not even in their vocabulary.
The explosives we provided were fake.
Sworn to a duty to always tell the truth.
We have no indication at this time that this was a deliberate act.
We're all being transferred.
To where?
The only place currently with openings. Alaska.
Good morning.
Welcome to the office, huh?
And we got the retro feel. You know, the funny about federal buildings, they're all different, but they're still somehow all the same.
Oh, good morning, Agent Walker. At the coffee station. We actually drew straws before he got here, and I won, so we get to work together.
Let's get started. Let's see if we can't stir something up.
Let's give it a minute. I like to warm up the truth muscles a little coffee beforehand.
Well, what do you want to do first?
What do we have for a surveillance van?
Oh, wow. I got a Ford Explorer. We don't have a surveillance van.
Do you put up many cases here?
Cases?
Yeah, cases. We're the tip of the spear when it comes to protecting American democracy.
You really believe this? You really believe that people posting crap online is going to cause our country to crumble?
I think the work that we do is important.
We don't have a surveillance van.
Me and some people got one. We've never needed one.
We need a surveillance van. We need a big case or a CI who can lead us to a big case.
What do you need the van for?
Surveillance.
CIs, or confidential informants, are the lifeblood of any good law enforcement agency. Public posts on social media are one of the best ways to find CIs. Agents would never use coercion or take things out of context to try and persuade someone to become a confidential informant.
The new Taylor Swift single is absolute fire. I'm just seeing a lot of incendiary and violent language here.
Agents always need to be on their toes and ready to make snap decisions.
Is there anything I can do for you guys?
Actually, David, there is something you can do for us.
Chicky nuggies.
Chicky nuggies.
What?
Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger. McDonald's cheeseburger.
Burger King.
Burger King cheeseburger.
Flame broiled.
And chicky nuggets.
Oh, baby, know you're gonna like it. I wanna be your beaver pilot. Said, honey, know you're gonna like it. I wanna be.
Awesome, right?
Is this a loner?
This thing's totally legit.
What is this? It's got windows!
All right, we are live and with an echo. Now took care of the echo. No major tech problems tonight. I'm calling it now. But I am at home because of the other tech problems at the store, which right now are driving me absolutely insane. So much so that I've got new microphones coming. We are switching to Corsair or Elgato microphones. So we'll see how that goes. I gotta figure out how to, when you're changing stuff up like that, everything works. Well, nothing works right now, obviously, from yesterday. Nothing is working, or it's not working the way it's supposed to. Let's just put it that way. And I just drives me crazy, especially when the sound's not working, because that's what I used to do. Yeah, right. Good to see and hear me. Yeah, no kidding. Good to see and hear. Both things are important when you're trying to talk to people. So yeah, so I've got some new microphones set for all of us, and those are on the route. And so we'll see when they get here. They're supposed to get here Tuesday, I believe. So if they get here Tuesday, and then I can go in and start configuring them. Maybe we'll see, because yeah, we'll just see what happens. I've got the new microphones going. I'm done with the whole thing that caused this yesterday, and for some reason it works fine here. And I don't know if it's because I run multiple microphones through the software, but it seems to keep track of them. And then all of a sudden stuff like yesterday happens where it just doesn't work. And I'm talking about the G Hub for Logitech, man. It drives me crazy. There was a time when, it didn't make, and so I got a microphone for here too. Like I've got this Logitech one here, which, I don't know what I'm going to do with these. Sell them or whatever. I don't know. Now I did see today that, and this is just technical stuff, but the Wave 3 microphones that I have, you can't plug them into the same computer. So the way I've got it set up at the store is I've got all 3 microphones running to my computer. So I control everybody's volumes. We can hear each other like right then and there. There's no delay in hearing each other. So I don't know. I got some ideas on how I'm going to figure that out. If I got to run the Wave software, if you get the best sound out of the microphone running the Wave software, then I'll run the Wave software, and then I'll run it through Voice Meter maybe, and then that way Voice Meter we can all connect. Kind of like how I do my streaming setup on my racing thing. So anyway, but that's all technical stuff that I got to figure out. But I'm just tired of stupid stuff happening with Logitech. It's still at work. I get at work and I see wow. I got digital stuff happening. I got a new background too. There we go. That looks better. Yeah, I had digital stuff happening there. But I got a new background. I got the flag actually on this one. The other one I had the flag behind me, but you couldn't really see it. So I thought, you know what? I'll get a better picture from the time with the flag. And then this microphone, of course, is in the way. But at least it's not behind the chair, right? At least now it's just behind the microphone stand and you can still see them a little bit. But yeah. So the mics will be here next week. Also next week is the beginning of the second trial of Karen Reed in stupid Massachusetts. Second dumbest state in the United States, next to Michigan, Massachusetts. The worst state for law and order. No, the second worst, because Michigan's the worst state for law and order and for just the whole thing. So they're still going to try Karen Reed a second time. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but even Fox News has got a little story tonight. Let's see. Let me share my screen. And I think what I'm going to do. So we got a bunch of people last time with my Karen Reed videos, my little follow-up videos. And so if I am ambitious, then my plan would be Oh yeah, I've got crazy hair today. Yep. Yeah, it's out of control today. I was off today. Well, kind of off. I was our place was closed today. Let's just put it that way. My work was closed today, so there was no washing. There was just brushing. I brushed it out. That was it. But yeah, it's completely out of control today. I thought maybe the headphones would keep it kind of in place, but no, it's crazy. It's wild, but whatever. I don't care. But anyway, it is just insane. So the you guys remember Lowry, the old prosecutor in the first one, and he was the worst. He was the worst. I mean, just redundant and just would not stay on topic. And I like I said, the fact that more people on that jury did not find it took like 3 or 4 jurors out of 12 on that jury to find that there was not probable cause, right? Most people in that jury believed Lowry, however you say it. Most people in that jury believed the prosecution in that horrible, horrible trial last time. So that's why I'm saying Massachusetts is full of stupid, stupid people. So they've set another jury. The current prosecutor is a guy named Hank. Oh, what the hell's his name? Damn it. I lost it. Read special prosecutor. What his Hank Brennan. Thank you, Google. Hank Brennan is the new special prosecutor that they have brought in for this case. Hank Brennan is normally a defense attorney, and in fact, he represented Whitey Bulger, the gangster. That was his claim to fame before. He was Whitey Bulger's attorney. So they brought in a mob defense attorney to be the prosecutor for the second Karen Reed case. Lowry has been there the entire time. The Laura McLaughlin, she's been there the entire time. Neither one of them have said a freaking thing. Neither one of them have actually said anything. And so, we'll see how that happens. So my plan, like I said, if I am ambitious enough, I am going to try. So I did like a weekly wrap up thing, right? I did like a weekly thing and it was only like 4 or 5. I mean, the last ones were like 5 minutes or something, but I'd like to try and do one every day. That's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of commitment, but it's also, I think, a good opportunity to get more viewers. So I think it's worth it. I'll have the weekends to still edit the show. And, it probably won't be as long, or maybe I'll do it a little bit differently than I did the last ones, because the last ones kind of, but I still want to make it funny. I still want to jump around. I want to show, not only do I want to show the coverage of the trial, I want to show the coverage of the trial from the people who are covering the trial, right? Because their input a lot of times is really, really good. So I'll probably keep it to a few people that are covering the trial. I know Emily Baker. Probably keep it to Emily, Andrea Burkhart, Melanie Little, and probably dang it, Brandy. Probably maybe do that because they're probably the best coverage. I think Andrea is Andrea Burkhart. If you don't know Andrea Burkhart, she is super duper smart. She is an actual practicing attorney. And she's done both defense and she's done appellate work. She does a lot of appellate work. And she is brilliant. I mean, she is a brilliant attorney. Her analysis is usually spot on. And so I really like her. And so I want to highlight just a few people. Maybe I'll do one a night kind of thing. But I kind of want to do this. I kind of want to get like a video a night out, just a couple minute recap of what happened during the day. I know, that's hard to do, but I think it's doable. I think it's doable. Yes, it's a lot of work and I'm nuts for doing it, but hey, you only live once. You only get a few shots at it. So I'm going to give it a go. So we'll try and see if we can do nightly updates, because it's going to be a mess. It's going to be an absolute mess. You can see that that they're saying that there's been so much pre-trial stuff. Like this is a fresh new motion that was filed yesterday that the defense does not want them to make any statements about the victim's injuries. They can't claim that the victim's injuries were caused by any person or animal that was inside the home of 34 Fairview Road. They want to show the abrasions. They want to show the abrasions of his arm in their opening statements. But the defense wants to limit that and say you cannot say that it came from any animal inside the house or anything. And so, but you don't really have to. The defense doesn't have to say that in openings. All they have to say is these injuries did not come from an automobile. These are not automobile injuries. These are other sources made these injuries. That's all they got to say in their opening statement. Even if they show the picture, right? They can, and I don't see why they should be not allowed to show the picture in their opening statements. Oh yeah. This oh yeah, no, that's a big thing, man. Rearranging your living room, because I did that recently. Oh my goodness. It's been a that's what I'm streaming from, right? Is I moved it around so I could stream here better. And it's been awesome, because before my monitor was like, the window was right behind my monitor. Like monitor, window straight behind it. And in the summertime, when there is no darkness here and it's all sun, the entire evening, the sun is coming through these windows right here and right into my monitor, or they used to. Now it's awesome. I've got the monitors right here. I've got this computer over here, this computer here. You guys, I think I've showed you the pictures of my setup. It's nuts. I got way too many screens, but I love it. So yeah. But anyway, so yeah, so they could show this picture in opening statements. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to. Some of the things is just crazy. And then like I said, the fact that 8 people on that jury, at least 8 people, believed the freaking prosecution is insane. And so I don't know. So this is let's see. Karen reads, dog evidence is not compelling to this cop. Let's see. What's this?
And there is some controversy developing over the alleged dog bite. If you recall, in the first trial, the defense offered the idea that the vicious German Shepherd in the house had attacked John O'Keefe as part of this big plot to kill John O'Keefe, and that the body had dog scratches on it that had pork DNA. My question becomes simply this. How could you have pork DNA from a dog that bit and scratched up John O'Keefe, but not any dog DNA?
Okay, that guy's an idiot. You're stupid. Oh my God. These people drive me crazy. How could you not have any? Because he was out in the snow for. Anyway. Oh yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, so here was a good thing from Emily, because the saw this the other day. So basically, Hank Brennan said that he would maybe have to adjust his prosecution or thoughts of how everything went based on what the defense says, right? He's going to have to change his. It is the prosecution has the responsibility to prove everything beyond a reasonable doubt. So when he said that we might have to change our strategy as far as the prosecution goes based on what the defense says. So let's see what Emily had to say, because I love her. She's so awesome.
Your theory shouldn't change based on ARCA. Sir, that
he's saying that, especially the ARCA PhDs, he's saying that his offense, his prosecution is going to have to change based on what the scientists from ARCA say. He's really scared about their testimony. He's really scared because they're not holding back this time. They're not going to hold back this time.
that ship has fucking sailed.
Yep, and I'll be
Your theory of the
gotta
case.
grab some water. Be right back.
You're telling on yourself, Brennan. Your theory of the case, if you had a strong case, your theory of the case should be unshakable. No matter what the defense expert says. If the defense expert can come in and change your theory of the case, you've already lost. Nothing at this point, how many years in are we now? 3+, should change your theory of the case. Your theory of the case is built on your evidence, your experts, your expert opinions. If you have to modify your theory.
Yeah, they're experts like Trooper Paul. Trooper Paul, how did you know that this happened? Well, the crime scene spoke to me. Yeah, okay, buddy.
Of the case based on what ARCA may say, you're done. You know that. But you're talking like a defense attorney up here. A defense attorney might change how they argue that the state didn't prove their case based on an expert opinion. Not the Commonwealth. If the evidence is truly a mountain of evidence, it's unmovable, no matter what the defense does.
Right.
So you are just.
Do you hear the frustration in her voice? And Emily does a very good job of trying to stay very neutral. What the hell's going on with my head there? All right. Thought that was looking a little crazy. She really does try and stay impartial. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my stupid thing now. So she really does attempt. Oh, it's the sun coming through right there. She does really attempt to be impartial. And so when she is this far out, when she is this, frustrated, that it's going to be rough.
You can see the frustration of them trying to find a theory of the case. And that's not where we should be before a retrial. Your Honor, we're already going to tell the jury our theory of the case. What happens when ARCA comes in and says shit that completely undermines our theory of the case? Your coroner undermines your theory of the case. What is your theory of the case? It is so clear when you see other prosecutions and you see opening statements where the prosecution gets up and says, in this case, the evidence will show A, B, C, D, E. At the end of the case, we're going to ask you to find the defendant guilty of XYZ. And when it is just a word salad, you can tell that there are too many straws being grasped at. Whatever you think happened that night, and I know some of you think that the defense has reached too far on a conspiracy with like 1 million participants. I get it. I know some of you think that Karen Reed 100% hit John O'Keefe with her car. Okay, here's where we're at though. In our system, the Commonwealth has to prove it. And their case has not been good at proving it. They have to prove what happened that night. They have to prove that the investigation shows that beyond a reasonable doubt with lawfully obtained evidence and credible witness testimony.
Yes.
That is their job. And then the defense comes in and goes poke, 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 poke. And if the defense pokes enough holes that the whole thing falls apart, your case wasn't very good. Because most of the time, by the time you take something to trial, the defense can poke all the holes they want. It's not going to sink your battleship. I have mixed analogies ridiculously. And that is the difficulty of this case.
She is awesome. She really is awesome.
Whatever you might think happened that night, the ultimate question here is, can the Commonwealth prove it? And if they are this worried about a defense expert, it is because they know that they are one whole poke away from the entire thing collapsing.
Mm-hmm.
If that is your case.
Yep. So there's Emily. It's going to be a mess. It really is. I do think that the Lowry last time was completely disjointed. His entire case was just this massive blah, right? Like, who was driving the ambulance and was it snowing? And, who, if any, what, if any, who, if any, just repeating that over and over and over again. The what, if any, who, if any, where, if any, who was any. Oh my gosh. I don't think Brennan is going to be that bad. I think he's probably a good litigator. I think he's going to be a tougher opponent, but I still think it's going to be a mess. I still think it's going to be completely a mess because they've got a horrible, they got a horrible case. They really got a case that can be. Yeah, exactly. It's just because there's no way from. Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, just. And I think that, I'm seeing another thing from the same weirdo that, So we'll see. I mean, they want to bring in an independent reader so last time they used the text, they read the text messages from her to John, and they used the trooper that downloaded. Well, this time they want to bring in a independent reader, whatever that means. So they want to, the Commonwealth wants to bring in someone independent, supposedly, but still works for the Commonwealth to read the text. It's like, no, that's not. So there's there's a actual, I don't know when was this filed. Just today, they filed the opposition to it. We can look at this real quick. You guys can read that, hopefully a little bit. If not, I'll read some up to you. This is the response. With regard to the purported text messages exchanged between John O'Keefe, the Commonwealth has not filed a specific motion or provided any legal authority related to this request, but releasing expressed its intention to use independent readers to present electronic communications between Miss Reed and John O'Keefe. On April 14th, for the first time in less than 10 days before the start of trial, the Commonwealth first introduced the idea of utilizing an independent reader, stating that it moves to provide notice that it intends to introduce the defendant's own statements without a witness or, in some circumstances, through a non-participant witness reader. Commonwealth's request is limited to a single vague sentence without any supporting legal authority and was not made until long after this court's deadline of filing motions in limine. Attorney Brennan again discussed the idea of using independent readers during the April 16th motion hearing, more specifically detailing the Commonwealth's desire to use independent readers to present various electronic communications between Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe. The defense quickly objected to this inappropriate theater, especially given the high probability that such a staged delivery could be unduly prejudicial against Ms. Reed. Correct. And then there's a footnote. Although Attorney Brennan stated that there would be no inflection that would be inappropriate, the defense does feel it's prudent to take that risk. If a jury were to hear these messages read inaccurately, no sustained objection or striking from the record would successfully undo that damage. Agreed. Notably, at no point in its writings or oral arguments has the Commonwealth provided any legal authority or basis for its desire to use independent readers in this context, namely for the reading of text messages. In June 2024, during the first trial of the above captioned matter, electronic communications of Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe were introduced as evidence through the testimony of Massachusetts State Trooper Trooper Garano. During his testimony, Trooper Garano authenticated the messages between Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe and read them into the record. This method of introducing electronic communications is entirely consistent with the standard procedure in Massachusetts. And we have case law about that. And furthermore, Massachusetts courts have emphasized the importance of authenticating text messages before admitting them into evidence. Correct. Conversely, the Commonwealth has not provided any statutory authority, case law, procedural rules, or evidentiary rules that would support its suggested use of independent readers for the purposes of performing the electronic communications between a defendant and a deceased party. And footnote, even though the Commonwealth failed to provide any supportive authority for its position, defense counsel made its best effort to find any example of this scenario in Massachusetts case law, but to date has not identified any examples that would support the proposition that communications between a defendant and a deceased party should be introduced by way of independent readers. The defense strongly opposes the use of independent readers and favors the standard evidentiary and procedural methods for introducing this evidence. Independent readers are an inappropriate way to convey electronic communications. Use of independent readers to introduce electronic communications, such as text messages, is per se improper. Text messages are not verbal conversations. They are written communications which speak for themselves. This is correct. This is a very good argument here. The theater of utilizing multiple individuals to perform a text message conversation is not an accurate reflection of a text message conversation, even under the best circumstances, and put aside concerns regarding tone, tenor, and timing. The Commonwealth's proposed use of independent readers seeks to create evidence that never existed. With regard to text message exchanges, such as those between Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, there was never a live conversation. Yet the Commonwealth seeks to create one through the use of its independent readers. This is manifestly prejudicial and due process violation. Traditionally, readers are used to reenact prior testimony that is unavailable to the jury, such as prior testimony of a deceased witness. And so In those circumstances, readers serve to provide the jury with a facsimile of what they would have heard had the witness been available. This is not the situation at issue here, where the Commonwealth seeks to have independent readers reenact text messages as a verbal conversation that never took place. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they go on, but see, is there anything? This is the 5th page. Additionally, for the purposes of authentication, courts often rely on individuals with direct knowledge of the digital evidence, including the police officers who extracted the messages. Strongly aligns with the underlying principle of the best evidence rule that proponent of the evidence must provide a foundation sufficient for a reasonable jury to find that the evidence is, so what they wanted to do, it sounds like, is have someone come in with a female voice. I'm pretty sure they would have done a female voice. If they would have done 2 people, that would have been absolutely ridiculous, because that's just staged theater. Now they're staging theater and reenacting a conversation that took place over a digital device. So that's completely prejudicial. Absolutely, 100%. So I probably expect Bev, the Judge Canoni, to allow them to use readers, because she is completely 100% biased. I mean, this is insane. Trooper Proctor was, so the guy that like got on the stand and, called her those bad names and said he was searching for nudes and all that. I don't even think he's on the prosecution's witness list, because he got fired by the Massachusetts State Police. They've actually done one good thing. They fired that crook. So he got fired for inappropriate activity, drinking on the job, for when he talked about how they, stopped and got drunk on the way back from that, whatever they went to, him and that, in one of the Alberts, I mean, this incestuous pile of crap that they've got. I mean, it's insane. I'm just reading what else. Oh yeah. So opening statements on Tuesday. Probably the first witnesses on Tuesday as well. I mean, we'll see. They want to use like clips of her giving interviews and stuff. So I'm sure they're going to edit them down to, just completely cut off here and there. They were trying to stop Aiden Turtle Boy from covering the trial. They were basically trying to stop him from even being able to cover the trial, from even being able to be in the courtroom, because they put him on the witness list, and they weren't going to call him unless, they'd come up about the witness intimidation and stuff. And he said, look, he is facing charges on his own. He's going to plead the 5th. And so, so they filed a motion just to say that, I'm not, he can put me on the stand, but I ain't saying stuff. I'm not saying anything. And so he's actually been cleared to cover the trial, except for the witnesses that, except for the witnesses that he has the stupid charges on, right? So that will be, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be another circus, complete freaking circus. So yeah, we'll get ready for it on Tuesday. Like I said, maybe we'll, I'll probably, like I said, if I'm going to try and do nightly updates, I'll probably stream while I'm putting those together so we can all do it together, and then I'll release the video later. But yeah, I'm just, maybe I'm going to definitely limit on the night who I use for my recaps. But I think a couple minute recap of the, big highlighted moments each day would be kind of cool. And so, yeah, maybe we'll do that. I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a try. So yeah, starting next week, Karen Reed, round 2. Here we go. All right. It looks like Nick Rekieta found out his sentence today. And there was a whole lot of, it's funny because there was a whole lot of speculation. There's a bunch of people I really miss, and I think a lot of people really miss the original Nick Rekieta. Like, he was always a goofball, but stuff just got crazy. So they finally released his sentence, and what's nuts is a lot of these people these are lawyers. Nate the lawyer. Nick Rekieta gets jail time. Damn, see you in a month, right? And then legal mindset. Rekieta trial arc comes to a close with 30 days in the jail and 5 years probation. Right? These are 2 practicing attorneys, supposedly. Now, Kiwi Farms, of course, Nick Rekieta sentenced to 30 days in the county. Nick Rekieta is going to jail. Nick Rekieta, yeah, that's, Tree of Logic. Nick Rekieta is reportedly sentenced to 30 days in jail. And so, yeah, now we're going back to other old things. But Danny on actually got it correct. And let's look at Danny on. Let's look at her statement of it. I think I get the Nick Rekieta law confusion. I've had clerks misspell things before. I don't think Nick is going to jail. I think it will be deferred. If not he is compliant with probation. If I'm right, which I think I am, you need to subscribe to my channel. So what they're saying is, this is the sentence. Ordered on April 18th, 2025, which is today. Defendant is sentenced to 30 days in jail in the county jail. I'm not even going to try and say that. Okay, Candy Ojai. County jail. Defendant is to serve 30 days. Okay, they did. Those are the first 2 sentences, right? Credit for time served amount is 2 days. May be deferred of complaint with probation. Okay. These are 2 big misspellings right here. And I think that is the confusion that she was talking. It's not just 1 misspelling, it's 2 misspellings. May be deferred if compliant with probation. Doesn't start till August 1st, 2025 at 7 p.m. So he's got until then to be compliant with probation. So these 2 words right here should be if compliant. So it looks like he is going to actually not have to serve 30 days in jail. Now, the 30 days in jail hangs over his head if he uses drugs, if he uses alcohol. He's got 5 years of probation. So she said, and then Danny said, yep. And he actually jumped in there. Let's see. It seems typographical errors to me. This is MG law, but I could be wrong. Perhaps a corrected entry by the clerk is needed. Yes. And then Rakeda actually jumped in. Everybody should subscribe, or everyone should subscribe to your channel. And you are also right. Keep it of complaint. If you whine enough about the conditions, you don't do jail time. Them's the rules now. Yeah, so then there's just a bunch of internet weirdos going back and forth. You know, I hope we get to see a Nick Rakeda redemption arc. I really do. I want to see a Nick Rakeda redemption arc. My grand idea for the show for season 2, because you know, and I'm not even, man, that sun is coming through. That sun is coming through the window. That's why I keep seeing little thingies, but it's okay. I like sun. Sun is good. So yeah, I don't even have a season 1 complete. I've only got, you know, the first like 7 scenes or 8 scenes done. But, you know, I have a whole plan for my show. And then the second season would have been a whole trial season with and my ultimate grandiose plans would have been to have a bunch of law tubers be like the judge and the lawyers and stuff for the, you know, for Zach, who would have been on trial for murder. Just give you a little glimpse into the future, if, you know, if I can ever get my butt to get this thing finished and it actually takes off and somebody finances it and we get to actually make an entire first and second season. I think that would be hilarious. And that's my grandiose plan. And then I could see Nick as one of the attorneys in my show. But, you know, it's got to get really popular first before any of that will happen. So I'm hoping we could get to see a Nick Rakeda redemption arc and people actually watch the show when I get it done and we're able to do multiple seasons. That would be my thing. So hopefully he can get his shit together. That's what I hope. So yeah. All right. Let's look at this. There's so much freaking craziness going on right now, but I don't think this much got hardly any coverage. This is Marco Rubio, an interview with Marco Rubio and what the hell? Where is it?
Department paid has sharing for the sharing.
All right, this was a interview between Mike Benz
and Secretary. Thank you so much for being here with.
I thought it was like 40 minutes long, but they don't even start until 22 minutes into it. So it's only like what, 17 minutes long. So, okay, we can watch the whole thing. I was thinking 40 minutes. God, I'm about to put it on 2 times speed. So, you know, this still doesn't get any coverage because the people that are in our government still want this to happen. it is there is reporting out there that even now you have GOP Congress people, senators and House members that are going to Speaker or Secretary Rubio and saying, hey, you need to put the money back to USAID. We need our CIA to be able to do covert operations. We need all the stuff that USAID has done. We need that to continue. GOP senator. So the government sucks. The government has always sucked. It sucked for the last 40 years. We have nobody or very few people in our government that actually care about any of us. They don't. They let corporations run all over the place. It does sound like they have said Google was actually due to Google and their advertising, they were a monopoly. And I haven't researched that much, but I want to. I'll get into that. But shutting down the one thing that the government does not have is the right to shut anybody's speech down. There's a reason that in the Bill of Rights that freedom of speech is number one. It is the very first thing. You have a right to speech. You have a right to say whatever you want, even if it's crap, even if it's bullshit. You have a right. And we don't need a government to protect people from horse crap, because people need to be smart enough to figure out what is stupid and what isn't. Now they're not. But that's not the government's problem. So anyway, Rubio shutting this down.
Sharing for the American people, a very momentous day in the history of the State Department and the U.S. government in restoring free speech and America's role as the beacon of free speech. Something very historic transpired today. Could you tell the American people what that was?
Well, we ended government-sponsored censorship in the United States through the State Department. And let me explain how we get there. This started out, 10 years ago with this effort of let's go after the messaging that Al-Qaeda and ISIS and others are putting to radicalize people. I know who's going to.
This is what government always does. Reagan talked about this, that any kind of government program is always going to blow up. It's always going to turn towards the people because the government knows best for you.
To be against that. That sounds normal. And then it was like in 2016, we had this foreign interference in our election. We need to start targeting some of that stuff. By 2020, it had grown into this movement of actually going after individual American voices. And one of the ways that was being done wasn't just directly, because the guy that was running this thing, Stengel, was actually a guy that was out there saying, Donald Trump talks just like a Russian spy. He talks just like a terrorist. And so do the people around him.
Oop, sounds like mom's home.
This program and using it to fund these NGOs, these third-party groups.
What's that? Oh, she can barely get in the door because all the dogs are laying right by the door because they don't want to miss it when she gets home. God forbid they miss something like mom walking through the door.
Groups who were supposed to be impartial. Those groups were then tagging. They were literally tagging and labeling voices in American politics, Ben Shapiro, the Federalist, others, tagging them as foreign agents. So you look at it and say, American taxpayers, through the State Department, were paying groups to attack Americans and to try to silence the voice of Americans. And there were consequences. It wasn't just a label they put on people. Some of these people got deplatformed, they got taken down, they couldn't communicate. So it was outrageous. So before President Trump took over, they disbanded this unit. They just renamed it and moved it somewhere else. But now, over the last few months, we've worked on it and just taken it down. And to the extent we're spending money now, we are going to spend money on messaging. It's going to be pro-American messaging. And it's going to be incentivizing and protecting free speech, which is threatened in all over the world, including countries that are allies of ours. The best way to counter disinformation, if that's what people are thinking is out there, the best way to counter disinformation is free speech, is to make sure that what's true.
What a novel concept. The best way to counter misinformation is through free speech. I want to hear that again, just because it's music to my ears.
And protecting free speech, which is threatened in all over the world, including countries that are allies of ours. The best way to counter disinformation, if that's what people are thinking is out there, the best way to counter disinformation is free speech.
Somebody in our government that thinks the best way to counter misinformation or disinformation is with free speech? Oh my good Lord. Yep. Yeah. Huh.
Is to make sure
Who'd
that
have
what's
thought?
true has as equal or greater opportunity to communicate as what's not true. We've learned that the hard way. But when you turn disinformation into a weapon, a political weapon, a label that you can use to go after people you don't like and say, oh, anything that person's saying is disinformation. Well, listen, I read mainstream newspapers every day, or I watch mainstream broadcast every day that I know are disinformation. Okay, we have an issue right now. They keep
correct.
Maryland man deported to El
Yes.
Salvador. No, not Maryland man. El Salvador citizen deported to El Salvador. That's disinformation. Every day, a U.S. senator yesterday said that this guy was a kidnapped American citizen, and they published it in the article without any fact check. He's not an American citizen. So the important thing is that we have free speech so we can counter that, so we can say this is not true. That's the way you handle that.
Yeah. And like so many things from 2020 on about the virus turned out to be true. But a lot of people that said anything were completely deplatformed, were completely allowed to, to not only not having their message shared, but to have their message completely removed. Like you could not say these things. And if you did, the government was silencing you. That can't happen.
But we have instances now in Western countries where people are being arrested. You've seen this. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
People are out there, they put a post and the cop comes knocking on their door. You're going to go to jail for 60 days for posting something online. Right.
The UK, every day.
This is crazy stuff that's happening around. The vice president addressed this in his speech at the Munich conference back in February. So we got a lot of work to do, but the most important thing is we're going to make sure that as we communicate.
Oh, there we go. They fixed the audio a little bit. I can turn it back down to level, thankfully.
To the world, it's going to be pro-American. Things that build up what this country's working on and explaining what we're doing, not attacking Americans who are exercising their First Amendment rights.
The classic work of the State Department in the 20th century.
Yeah,
and you mentioned this network that was paid through the State Department through grants and contracts. And my understanding is that network also targeted the Undersecretary for Public Diplomacy, Darren Beattie, who I believe played an important role in this restructuring as well. And credit to you and to the Undersecretary. One of the questions that remains, this is obviously amazing news.
So just a quick thing, the UK Prime Minister.
Are already in court. Over 400 people now have been arrested, 100 have been charged, some in relation to online activity, and a number of them are already in court.
Over 400 people arrested for social media comments, bragging about all the people that they've had arrested for speech. They've lost their damn mind. Oh, they have. They have. Absolutely. They're completely. I mean, nobody's learned any lessons from what's going on. And CNN is even showing the numbers, and people still are, a Democrat from Oregon is flying them to El Salvador to try and get this person released. It's like, what?
I think to the entire American people about the defunding and the restructuring, there are lingering questions about what was done during that period, where we now have so many.
What happens? I mean, as I've been saying on X a bunch of times, Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States establishes a legislative branch. We have 3 supposedly co-equal branches of the government. One, in Article 1, is set up as a legislative branch, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Originally, the Senate was selected by the state legislators. Wasn't even a voted on position. It was legislators of the states elected representatives for the Senate. Then we had the House. Okay, so the power invested in the legislative branches from the Constitution is given to those branches. The collective works of 100 senators and the 400 or how many ever House members there are. How many House members are there? It is 435 voting members. So right now we have 435. There are 2 vacancies right now. So we currently have 433 representatives in the House. We have 100 senators. The power invested by the Constitution is in the collective works of the bodies or the collective works of those people. That is where the power is. This person right here, Congresswoman Maxine Dexter from Oregon, has no individual power whatsoever. So if she wants to go down to El Salvador, she does not represent the United States. She goes down there as a citizen of the United States because that's all she is. She is not anything other than a current citizen of this country. These members do not have any inherent power individually whatsoever invested into them by the Constitution. Their power is the collective body. And so that's my opinion, that's my thoughts, but I think that kind of stands up to what's going on. These people are not the executive branch. They hold no individual power. All they can do is oversight and have acts as a body, or as small groups of the body, right? Like you have the different committees and stuff, but that's still a collective work. It's not individual people. The same thing when they showed up at the Department of Education or these other places, right? And they're like, we want to come in. Well, why? Because we're members of Congress. And it's like, okay, yeah, so you're a member of Congress. Great. You don't actually have any authority. You don't have any authority to do any of this as an individual. Now, if you want to get together and regulate these agencies, and that is perfectly fine, but you've got to get together and collectively vote on it. So anyway, yeah, that's my rant. All right, back to this.
Was I censored because of something the State Department did? Was my news organization bankrupted? Were advertisers contacted about it? And there are aggrieved parties. There's an important historical record that needs to be unearthed. There are active lawsuits. There are many reasons for a public disclosure effort on top of this development today. Are there any efforts underway to be able to have a kind of GEC files as there were for the Twitter files?
Yeah, so I think what we have to do now, and Darren will be big involved in that as well, is sort of document what happened. Because one thing is to say it in a broadcast like this, another thing is to actually put it on paper. And there's 2 reasons to do it. The first is because I think people who were harmed.
Yeah, I would love to see those files. Please, let's see them. Bring them out.
Deserve to know that and be able to prove that they were harmed. And then the other is to make sure it never happens again, right? So that 10 years from now, when someone has a brilliant idea like this again, not brilliant idea like this again, you can point to that and say, oh, this was done once before, and here's a reason why we don't. That's why accountability is important in these things, because it doesn't just provide justice, but it also prevents it from happening in the future. You have something you can point to at the same time and say, these are the kinds of things we want to stay away from. And you know, it's also a very important lesson here. If I take you back 15 years and I ask somebody, do you think we should be doing more to make sure ISIS and Al-Qaeda are not radicalizing people online? 15 years ago, we would have said, yeah, of course. Right. But look what that turned into. Right. And I'm not saying I'm, you know, obviously we don't want ISIS radicalizing everybody, but you have to understand that sometimes some idea that starts out as innocuous or maybe even good intention, whatever, can metastasize, becomes a weapon that can be turned into something else by someone else. That's a valuable lesson here. And everything we do, you have to understand that when you create something, what you created and what it turns into are not necessarily the same thing, especially when the people in charge change.
Right. A Frankensteinian monster that takes
right.
on a life of its own. So then that is to say you can commit to the American public now that there will be a transparency effort to actually...
Yeah, that's already started. Because I think as part of justifying doing all this, we had to document this, right? So now I think there's more in-depth, and we'll create a process for people that sort of point. We already know some of the higher profile ones, but there are more.
I want to see the files. I want to see exactly what happened. I want to go over exactly what happened.
More than a higher profile ones, right? There are a lot of other, including everyday individual American citizens who suddenly were labeled. And I think this is going to require some cross-jurisdictional work because some of it's going to require us to go back and prove, okay, somebody got deplatformed in 2021, right? And like in the middle of COVID, 2020, someone got deplatformed. And tracking, we can prove that. People can show, hey, I got deplatformed by the old Facebook or by the old Twitter or whatever. But then linking that to why were they deplatformed? Who told them to deplatform? And if we could somehow, with internal review, create a linkage between some information that came from something the State Department paid for and an actual aggrieved party, that's what's important. Because I think that one thing is to point to the high-profile cases, which we're aware of. But I think when people see that there were actually just individual, everyday Americans that were deplatformed, and for whatever, silenced because somebody associated with this program identified them, I think that's what's really going to be eye-opening to a lot of people. But we didn't want to wait for that to take action. We know enough to already act. Right. But we obviously want to know the depth and the scope of this. That's going to happen. Yeah. Right. It's already happening.
This is a program that has been shrouded in secrecy. Journalists like Matt Taibbi have tried to FOIA for many of these grants and contracts and have encountered the Stonewall. So this is, I think, amazing news. Yep. I know that you're a very busy man and appreciate all the time here. So the final question is on the international stage. As you are repositioning the State Department to have the U.S. once again be the global beacon for free speech and liberty, we face threats around the world from censorship laws coming out of the European Union, coming out of Brazil, coming out of really a network of countries that have taken the legitimacy of things like the Global Engagement Center and said, oh, it's okay in the Western world to have media literacy programs, information integrity, disinformation programs. And many of those Global Engagement Center ecosystem partners have been involved in the shaping of those foreign laws. Many have been funded by the State Department and USAID, being signatories on the EU Code of Disinformation. Implementing the EU Digital Services Act, which was threatened to be turned against Americans when Elon Musk famously had that X-Space with Donald Trump during the election season. So my question to you is there any insights that you can provide to the American people about how the State Department is going to go about once again restoring free speech in a world where we are facing foreign threats from the European Union and Brazil and other places to Americans' ability to talk to Americans?
So the first thing, obviously, is our number one priority is Americans. So we don't want to see an American who happens to be living in London or happens to be living in Europe post something online about American politics or any politics, and all of a sudden they're facing ramifications over there, or they're denied entry, and something happens, oh, we're denying them into our country, or we're going to arrest them because they posted something while living overseas. So our number one interest is the impact it has on Americans. The broader point, which is the one I think the Vice President made very clear in Munich at the security conference, and people freaked out about what he said, but it's true. What is it that links us with Western Europe? What is it that links us with these? It's our shared values. And one of those shared values, we hope, is freedom of expression. I know they don't have a First Amendment, but freedom of expression, right? And if that is eroded, if suddenly these become places where people are targeted because of what they said or what their opinion is, then one of the pillars of our shared interest, beyond military cooperation and everything else, is under attack. And I think he made a very vibrant point that in some ways you are attacking. By attacking freedom of expression, you are attacking one of the pillars of our shared interest, our shared culture, our shared values. And so I think we raised that. We've raised that. I mean, I can tell you we were at an Oval Office meeting with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and this issue came up. So this has been raised. It becomes part of our diplomatic situation that we raise when we interact with foreign interlocutors. I think what's troubling is we understand, like, that's always going to be an issue when certain countries around the world, but when you're dealing with Western European allies, and that's who you're talking to about this stuff, it really tells you how far it's gone and how big a problem it is. So that's a new thing for us to have to raise in those capitals, but we do it, and we do it everywhere. And I personally witnessed the president and the vice president raise it with multiple foreign leaders. And I think you're going to continue to see an emphasis on that in our diplomacy and what we talk about.
I think that's something we've been a champion of, or we used to, for a long time, or at least I'd like to think we were. Now, I mean, you look back and we've actually not been the best stewards throughout history with all the crap our CIA's done over the years. But anyway, I think being stewards of free speech throughout the world is probably what we really need to be doing.
That's fantastic. And I think the actions today will send a message to those foreign bodies that what was done for a very brief period here, really in the scope of our history, is not a legitimate way to pursue international laws. And just on the EU Digital Services Act, I'd feel remiss if I didn't mention that the EU commissioning body there threatened Elon Musk, a non-EU citizen, talking to Donald Trump, a non-EU citizen
during the
running for
campaign in
president,
October.
and threatened them specifically not to talk about the unrest, the street protests in the UK at the time. The UK is no longer a member of the EU, so the EU was threatening, and today we're hearing they're threatening $1 billion in fines against X for non-compliance with disinformation. And we've seen the head of their commission target non-EU citizens talking to non-EU citizens about non-EU territories. And so this is just one of these things, as this code becomes mandatory in July, to know that the State Department is focused on protecting free speech both within and without is I think, an important thing.
Well, just beyond Elon, if a country or a group of countries, in the case of the EU, although it considers itself sort of a country because these countries have, given over a significant amount of sovereignty in order to become a member of the EU.
Yes, they have.
Foreign entities taking actions that go after Americans for speech. That becomes a foreign policy irritant for the United States, and more than an irritant, it becomes an impediment in some cases to cooperate when they're going not just after a high-profile person like Elon, but anybody for that matter. I mean, I think if you extend this out, you could see it, threatening commentators, threatening people that are opining about world events, potentially threatening office holders in the United States. Right. I mean, so what if a American political figure, on the left or right, criticized something that was happening in Europe? Imagine right now if all these people freaking out over Bukele in El Salvador were suddenly being threatened by some Western Hemisphere version of the EU. Oh, we're going to come after you because you're attacking the president of El Salvador. The left would be freaking out.
Right.
So I think that this is a very legitimate issue for us to raise as a bilateral, or in this case with the EU, irritant in our foreign policy. It has to become part of one of the things that we raise when we interact with them about the impact this is having on American citizens. At the end of the day, the number one priority of the State Department is to serve the national interest of the United States and the interest of the American people. We work for the American people.
Right.
It's the United States Department of State.
Yes.
So that we need to return that principle in everything we do, including this.
Right, and this is such a fair and frankly merciful way of doing this as well. It sounds like you don't want the power to go after the other side for misinformation and things like this.
Oh, we would be here all day. Yeah, right. I mean, I could build a whole building to go after that. Right, exactly. But the best way to do it is just to say they're lying, here's the truth.
Right.
That's why we have things like this today.
Right.
And that's why we're able to interact with you and others. That's the best way to do it. And it's annoying, don't get me wrong. I mean, they say things that aren't true. Every day stuff is leaked in the press that's reported on as fact, and it's not fact. Right. Or stuff is reported in commentary, look, commentators say what they want. Mainstream newspapers and mainstream media outlets report things as fact that are completely not true. So our approach to that is not shut them down, not fine them. Right. Our approach to that is to say they're lying. Here's the truth.
Right.
it's harder, it's annoying, but that's the best way to do it. If you don't do it that way, then you recognize that someday in the future, if you create this power to shut that down, someone in my position will do it to us. And I just think that begins to devolve very rapidly, as we've seen with this experiment that they did.
You're putting the censorship gun down, and the American people are incredibly grateful for it. So thank you so much.
That was
for
the right
making
thing to
time
do.
today.
Thank you. And thanks for your attention to this topic. I know you've been on this a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
All right. So there we go. That is our awesome Secretary of State right now. All right, hang on one second. All right. There we go. So yeah, that was a pretty awesome interview. I'm very cool of him to do that, and very cool to shut down the Global Engagement Center. Because that place was a mess. It's not something we need. There's no reason one political party gets to have that much influence of our world, view. It just doesn't. I mean, we should be expanding in ideas that are based on the common good of our country and not just one ideology. So this is transitioning now to some more free speech things. This right here is actually free speech as well. It's stupid, but this person, Nicholas Decker, is I guess he is a college student. He is in let's see, what did he say? I think he's either a PhD or is going for his master's or whatever, but he's written an essay, and he's used his free speech to write this essay that says, "When must we kill them?" The ultimate source of political power is and always will be violence. If the present administration should continue on its course, there is no choice but war. I say this out of sorrow. When must we kill them? Okay, so let's just a real quick look at your next warlord, I guess. The next person that's going to come after everybody, I guess. Evil has come to America. The present administration is engaged in barbarism. It has arbitrarily imprisoned its opponents, revoked the visas of thousands of students, imposed taxes upon us without our consent, and seeks to destroy the institutions which oppose it. None of this is actually true. None of this first thing is actually true. But this guy thinks it's time to start killing people, I guess. Its leaders threaten to produce unfavorable coverage. It suggested that their license may be revoked. It has deprived us, in many cases, of trial by jury. And subjected us to jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. No, it doesn't. So our favorite deaf data Republican says, "I can't even bring myself to mock you. This is deeply sad." And I'm not even going to click on the entire essay, because I don't even want to give the guy a freaking click. This is deeply sad. You're a young man studying for a doctorate at a respected university. You should be building a future. Instead, you're publicly advocating violence. What's worse is that you're not unwell. You're part of a growing movement, and one of the people your side is targeted. When I gave a short speech in a small town in northern Utah, they assigned an 11-person security detail. There's nothing I can say to break through to you. You need Jesus Christ. And so his response was, yeah, I wish those times would not come. Nevertheless, if democracy were to be ended, we must be prepared to fight. So we're going to end democracy somehow. So President Trump and his administration were elected by the Electoral College and won the popular vote. He is the product of a democratic voice. The democracy you think you fight for is actually a cabal of NGOs established during the Cold War and empowered to carry out our soft power operations throughout the world, defending against Russia. They call themselves democracy, but have long since divorced from the will of the people and are anything but democratic. This is all very true. They are an oligarchy unto themselves that is anything except democracy. So his response, I am concerned that he will direct the legislatures of several states to deliver electoral votes to his preferred candidate, regardless of how the people voted. I am not calling for action now, simply for us to recognize the gravity of the task we may be called to. I am concerned that space aliens have stolen your brain and replaced it with a cantaloupe. My concern is a closer relationship to objective reality than your concern. Yeah, exactly. Another response to this one was, so let me get this straight. You're now lying about what you wrote in your public essay, which proclaimed that a wannabe president assassin would be a hero. And now you're claiming to only be worried about the Electoral Count Act. You bring shame to my alma mater. Yeah, so whatever, but what to do? The rot of the present administration runs deeper than one man. The sacrifice of a hero is insufficient to save our nation, and a gust of wind on a summer day would not have saved us. For let us make no mistake, the problem is not one man, but a whole class of people. If one head is cut off, another would take its place. So basically, you're saying that the entire side of, I mean, this is like, the unbreaded guy. I mean, this is the white unbreaded dude. Is what this is. I mean, this is white boy unbreaded. Is what this guy is. Oh my goodness. Massive. Oh, what the hell was his name? Damn it. Unbreaded guy. What the hell was his name? Oh man. Matthew something, right? I can't remember his name. See if it comes up in Grok. Matthew Harris, a former UCLA lecturer, he had an 800-page manifesto titled Death Sentences, which contained violence threats and was linked to the phrase touchdown on paper unbreaded. That is correct. So this dude is the white unbreaded guy. It's because he is saying that, and I don't think Nicholas Decker is in any position to be. I mean, this guy is not. Sorry, you're not a warlord. You're just not. I went to a meeting of the College Republicans at my college. Was amazed, to be honest, at how cretinous they were. Oh, they're cretins. I just Yeah, I don't know. This guy's got some issues. It does sound like the Secret Service did give the guy a visit. So, hey, that's good for checking up on him. Everything he's saying is legal. I'm not saying, I would absolutely in no way say that this guy should be arrested or charged or anything for what he said, because this too, like we just talked about, is free speech. It should not be taken offline. It should not be suppressed. If this is his idea should be put out there for everybody to make fun of or do whatever they want. He's talking about being a furry. If I were a furry, and I'm not saying I am, my name would definitely be Virginia Woolf. Yeah, okay, so wonderful. We got furries that are now proclaiming to be warlords that are going to. And when I say I'm being hyperbolic when I say he's claiming to be a warlord, I know he's not saying anything of that. I'm just being facetious. But yeah, I did see something in here where he said he did get. Secret Service 12 hours ago. Secret Service came by. We had a lovely chat. Discussion touched on many points with an amicable resolution of differences. Conduct is fully legal. Of course it's legal. There's no reason why he should be charged or put in jail or anything from a stupid writing online. I guess this is him right here. Yeah. Good luck, buddy. Oh man, I just tell you what, people are crazy. They're just, we've lost our damn minds. Like you said, lost their damn minds. It is so true. People are losing their minds, and we're not. I mean, yeah. The freaking mainstream media just sure doesn't help things out. They just stir the pot. They just are there to stir the pot to get you fired up. I did though. This is this came out today. I'm reliably told that this makes you a Nazi. So poor Bernie. Bernie is now 100% a Nazi. There is no other way at all to interpret this other than Nazi salute. That's the only way that you can interpret this. So I love this person. Want to show the video so you get the full view of the gesture? You guys are sad. It's like, it's a joke. Nobody, that's the thing, is people are joking because we know that it's not an actual salute. This is not something, but if that's the rules now, the rules are that is, there's no way to interpret it any other than it's a salute. Yeah, no, we know that. Then we have talking about people who just love to take away your free speech. We get this old bat to come out of the dungeon. Victoria Nuland, the most evil person on the planet currently, or one of them. So saying that
they need to be able to stop these Russian attacks that are coming from bases inside Russia. So I think there's also a question of whether we, the United States and our allies, ought to give them more help in hitting Russian bases, which...
Yep, we, the United States, need to ramp up the war even more. We need to make sure that the Ukrainians can attack Russia inside Russia.
heretofore we've not been willing to do. I think if the attacks are coming directly from over the line in Russia, that those bases ought to be fair game, whether they are where missiles are being launched from or where they are where troops are being supplied from. I think it's time for that because Russia has obviously escalated this war, including, as you said at the beginning, attacking Russia's second city, Kharkiv, which is not on the front lines, and trying to...
I think she meant Ukrainian city. So because the city's not on the, they can't attack anywhere that's not on the front lines. This is the face and voice of pure evil. This is one of the people, and people like her have been running the government for the last 20 years, 16 years at least. But she worked for Cheney, so she's been in this government for 20 to 25 to 30 years that they've had control.
Decimate it without ever having to put a boot on the ground. So I think it is time to give the Ukrainians more help hitting these bases inside Russia.
Yep, there you go.
One of the reasons
War.
that the administration
War.
has hesitated is because they believe it will escalate things even further with Russia pull the U.S. further in. Why not? Why? So why do you think that's a good idea?
Because war, we need more war.
Because it's Russia that has escalated this war. Russia has learned how to pull its forces back out of the range where we have allowed Ukraine to use our weapons and get our support. So they are getting a direct advantage in this war from our hesitation, and they have escalated massively. As you know, they have flattened a third of Kharkiv without ever having to get on the ground there. So it is time to stop that and help Ukraine push them back.
Yep, we need more war. Must have more war. Dogs are liking that. The dogs think that that's just the greatest thing is more war. Okay, go on. I'm not talking about doggy war. Go. Yeah, I guess they like my war wars. This is what demon possession looks like. Yes, it is. This was Victoria Nuland back in the day, and this is what years and years and years of evil will do to you. Yeah, I mean that the fact that producers and owners of CBS continue to give her a platform for her Russophobia distorts all ability to rationally assess the war that bears her thumbprint, because she was the one in 2014 that was in Ukraine when it overthrew their democratically elected government. She was there handing out cookies. Yeah, so this I just love these people. Here's another brilliant idea. This is A+ idea.
This is what everyone needs to know. What Donald Trump is doing wrong, and the courts have said what he is doing wrong, and he has ignored the law, so therefore you need to arm yourself and defend yourself against ICE.
Take up weapons against ICE. Ugh.
Or the federal agents that he sends to arrest you. Now, I realize that somebody may or may not get through it, but if you go to another country in one of those prisons, you're not going to get through that anyway. So protect yourself. You have the right to defend your life, and arm yourself. Do not allow them to arrest you. And there will be a point in time when there will either be no more officers to arrest you, or they will stop what they're doing.
Don't, please do not arm yourself and try and fight ICE officers. not what you need to do. Please don't do that. That is not a good thing to do. It's, people have lost their mind. And then we get this guy. We got a cavalcade of craziness today. So we have David Hogg, DNC vice chair, who is going out. He's got a $20 million initiative to try and unseat ineffective incumbent House Democrats. So they're going to turn, Democrats are going to turn against him. This guy's a moron too.
For them, because we go out there as Democrats all the time and say democracy is the most important.
So I think I understand what he's trying to say here, but I don't think it's coming off like he wants it to. And I'm going to give this moron the benefit of the doubt because he is a complete idiot, but I don't think he meant to say what he said. So let's just kind of listen.
Fail to acknowledge that this generation, democracy is what put us through school shooter drills and school shootings. It's what's put us through the climate crisis and so much more. What we have to do is prove that democracy matters by standing up to the special interests that are killing the American dream and making our young people lose faith, not only in our party, but the future of this country. That is why we're doing this.
So he's saying democracy caused us to have school shooter drills, and democracy has caused us to have the climate crisis. So we need to go after. Now, I do kind of agree that we need to go after the special interests. That I do agree with. There are plenty of special interests that we need to go after. However, I think my definition of the special interests that we should go after and David Hogg's definition of the special interests that we need to go after are two completely separate things. I think he's talking about, I think one of the things he's talking about is the NRA, which really does not have much power at all anymore, right? There's not very many. The NRA doesn't really do much anymore. It's been more localized, and they've completely screwed up their whole entire organization. But he's talking more about that. My thoughts on special interests are the fact that the pharmaceutical companies control pretty much everything as far as programming goes, that ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox News, most of them would not be able to survive if we treated pharmaceutical ads like cigarette ads. Like if it came out that you could no longer advertise pharmaceuticals on TV, then I think a lot of TV channels would have very, very trouble surviving. I think they would fold pretty quickly without pharmaceutical dollars. Media companies, Facebook, Google, they have way too much power and control over things. There's a lot of things that you can't say on here on YouTube. Now, I did just take a bunch of pharmaceuticals, so I'm not saying that what the pharmaceutical companies doing are all bad, because they do help us a lot of times get through many things. I had a heart issue in 2021. I think it was 21. Yeah. And I just had my update with my cardiologist, and I'm on a few medications. I have a stent in my chest. I have a metal, mesh, whatever, keeping my arteries flowing. And so, he said that, I'm on quite a few different medications. He said that the medications I'm on are top of the line. And, I think that's good. I think it's bad in some ways. I think I'm probably on too many, but, whatever, it is what it is. But the people go from running the FDA to working for pharmaceutical companies or the food companies. The food companies are the other one. They have way too much power. And these corporate people that serve on these boards go straight from the board of directors or CEOs of a food company or a pharmaceutical company to running the agencies that are supposed to be looking out for them, looking out for us, that are supposed to be monitoring what they're doing. They go straight from there to those agencies back to corporate America, and nobody bats an eye. Our Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, and then like Chuck Grassley or Turtlehead from Kentucky, McConnell. Nobody says a damn thing on either side. They just let it happen. And that's why we need to vote out every single incumbent and put people in that'll actually get back to what we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have and I think that's why I'm not a conservative. I'm not a limited government completely person. I want an effective government that looks out for people. The Constitution in Article 1 creates the legislative branch, and it gives the legislative branch a lot of power to do what they need to do. And one of the things they do is set up these different agencies. They set up the Food and Drug Administration, the USDA to watch our food supply, the Health and Human Services, HHS, and they set up these institutions, the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. All of these entities we need, but we don't need them in their current form. We need them to do what they are supposed to do, which is look out for us, the people. Why is it we can't export food? It's because they're so full of chemicals that no other country wants them. We've talked many times about how when you see a ingredient list from something from even Canada or, especially Europe, that there's not this giant amount of chemicals which are embedded in everything we do, even in not just the chemicals in the processed food afterwards, but even our wheat. I mean, even the genetically modified plants that grow our food is different here than it is anywhere else. That's why people can go to Europe and eat the bread. I mean, like bakeries in Germany are everywhere, but you don't see people having the issues that we have here, and they eat so many more carbohydrates than we do, or the good carbohydrate. I mean, they probably eat as much as we do, but they don't have the same issues that we do, is because we put so many processed and lab grown crap into our food that it completely changes it changes the food, and it changes our entire metabolic structure. I mean, it's just, and so we have these agencies that are supposed to look out for that, but we just put these people in that let the industries monitor themselves. Like, all these additives in food, they don't have to go through rigorous scientific studies to put all these additives in our food. They're just allowed to do it with no oversight. Same thing with the SEC. It's like they did not allow the Albertsons Kroger thing, and so that is a good as a, at least they took a step there and said, no, that would cause way too large of a, that would be basically the food. They would control most of the food for the entire United States. So it's good that they at least said, nah, that's probably pushing it a little too much. So, yeah, but we need to get back to that where we have actual independent people that are looking out for us. We need Congress to pass rules about who can go, like going from lobbying or going from these agencies straight into the corporate America. I mean, we should have rules against that. We should. And I mean, that's not limited government. That's government getting involved. But I think we are to the point where, yes, we absolutely need that. Walmart. Yeah, no, you're right. Walmart probably controls a lot of that. You're correct. Let's ask Grok. What are the largest grocery corporations in the U.S.? List by market share. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see what Grok has to say. I'm getting more into AI. Okay, so based on available data from 2023 to 2025, largest grocery corporation in the United States ranked by market share. Walmart, you are correct, 23%. Yeah. Oh, was it the Walmart lobbyists that kept them in? Okay. Oh, God. So Kroger is a 10% market share. Albertsons was 6%. So yeah, so you're right. They only would have made up to 16%. Costco, it's good to see Costco up there at 9%. That's awesome. Yep. Yeah, no doubt. So Albertsons, Publix 4, Sam's Club 4, Target 3. So yeah. Nope, you're right. Walmart is the king. Walmart is the king of the market share. Oh my goodness. So why was the Kroger Albertson merger not allowed? Let's see what the official word is from Grok on that. Proposed $24.6 billion merger between Kroger and Albertsons was blocked by federal and state courts in December 2024 for key reasons. Reduction in competition. Well, they still wouldn't have been as big. You're right. They still wouldn't have been as big as Walmart. 9 state attorney generals argued that the merger would eliminate fierce head-to-head competition between Kroger's and Albertsons. Oh, man. Yeah, okay. I wonder which 9. Inadequate divestiture plan, harm to workers, consumer protection, blah, blah, blah. While the courts and FTC focus on preserving competition, some argue the decision overlooks the broader competition landscape where Walmart, with 23.6% market share, and Costco dominate. Kroger and Albertsons argued the merger was necessary to counter these giants, but evidence of their direct rivalry and the weak divestiture plan outweighed these claims. Yeah, So, yeah. And you got to remember to add that 4 for Sam's into the Walmart number. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, you're right. Sam's, and yeah, holy moly. So they have almost 30% of the market when you get down to it. Sam's Club 4.3, 23, so 28%. Oh, gosh. Yeah, no, they're lobbyists. And that's the thing. These we have way too much power in these lobbyists. So in that sense, back to Mr. Hogg, he is correct. We do have to go after these special interests, but we need to really look at what, who, and why are the special interests, because they're not all who we don't have a lot of agreement on that right now. All right, this is kind of sad. The Quartering is a YouTuber, has started a GoFundMe for a guy named Jacob Couch. Jacob Couch actually passed away. He was in Tacoma, I believe. Father of two, was nearly decapitated in front of his wife and left in critical condition by a hatchet-wielding menace as the couple were in the middle of a cross-country trip home 1 year after their son's death. Jacob Couch, 32, was sitting on a bus stop bench with his wife in Tucson, Arizona, when 25-year-old Daniel Michael confronted the pair and attacked them with a hatchet. And basically, this makes no sense. So the Quartering, Jeremy, started a GoFundMe or a Give Send Go. Sorry, Give Send Go. And I will put that in the chat. Can I put that in the chat? Let's see. Let's see what happens if I share a link. So yeah, if you can, I would try and give it that. I gave a little bit earlier today. Very, very sad story. I mean, just ridiculous story. I mean, no idea why. I don't know that. No idea why. So charges upgraded for suspect in Tucson hatchet attack after victim dies. Suspect in the brutal hatchet attack of a man in Tucson is now facing a murder charge. Family of Jacob Couch died Thursday, 17 hours after vigil was held for him outside. So let's go ahead and share this tab. Let's go ahead and every night. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was so loud. Oh my gosh. We got 25 seconds of an ad. So new man is fighting for his life after a brutal hatchet attack in downtown Tucson on Saturday, April 5th. So that was a couple weeks ago. According to the Pima County court documents, Jacob Couch's wife were sitting in a bus bench on the corner of 6th Broadway when an unknown man approached them and started yelling at him. Records show Jacob said something back to the man. That's when he hit him in the neck with what Kristen believes was a machete-type knife. And so, okay, let me see if I can turn the volume.
For his life in the hospital. We spoke exclusively with the victim's family, and they are still trying to wrap their heads around why this happened.
Makes absolutely no sense.
Right now, so
yeah, sorry.
We've just been taking it how we can.
And listen to this. The commercial was 2 times, 3 times louder than this. So crazy.
Talking about the status of his 32-year-old brother, Jacob Couch, who is on life support at Banner University Medical Center after being attacked at this bus stop in downtown Tucson.
Somebody wielding a machete came up and cut him from the back in the side of his neck.
According to Pima County court documents, on Saturday, April 5th, Jacob and his wife, Kristen, were sitting at this bus bench on the corner of 6th Avenue and Broadway when an unknown man approached them and yelled at them. Court documents say Jacob said something back to the man, and that's when he hit Jacob in the neck with what Kristen believes was a machete-type knife. Jacob suffered a massive wound to his throat and bled profusely. He is not expected to survive his injuries.
The injury cut the artery in the back of his neck in half. It went so deep that it hit his skull.
Video surveillance captured the suspect walking away calmly from the scene. After reviewing the footage, investigators were able to identify the suspect as Daniel Michael, seen here in court. 3 days after the incident, officers were able to locate Michael at his home. Documents say during a search warrant, investigators found a hatchet in his apartment as well as clothes worn during the incident. Documents say Michael initially denied any involvement, but later admitted he had been drinking heavily and didn't remember anything. Records say the suspect then remembered confronting Jacob. Details as to what happened between the two men is still unclear.
If you're going,
Huh? Oh, did I not mute it? Oh, shoot. Sorry.
while you're drunk, carrying a large machete,
I forgot to do the
no
mute.
other intentions other than cause harm to somebody.
Yeah. No, those poor kids. I mean, that's just awful.
Happened here? Was there an altercation? Who said what? We don't know those details yet, but regardless, Luke says that this was a senseless act of violence.
Ever since I was a kid, that was my idol, you know, and I always wanted.
Who said what? What's the matter? Who said what? You don't hit somebody in the head with a hatchet. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, I shared the thing. If you got a chance, maybe drop a couple dollars there. The family is going to need it. It's horrible. Ricada is actually going to start streaming again, it looks like. The reporting is incorrect, incomplete. I guess a Minnesota lawyer needs to explain it. Come watch my new show, Actually Criminal, tonight. So he's named his new show, Actually Criminal. That was why I laughed just now. Actually Criminal. So Ricada's new show. Oh my gosh. He was probably trying to get him to leave his family. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you walk up to somebody and start yelling at him in a bus stop. I mean, what? Yeah. I don't know. And then we've got the whole Austin situation. That whole thing is a nightmare. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Texas is the Texas is just not the place it used to be. I'm speaking of the Carmelo Anthony situation. Kid in Texas who now, you know, we don't know exactly if these two knew each other before, what the whole thing is, but one kid was unarmed, one kid had a knife, one kid stabbed the other kid in the chest, and somehow he's become a celebrity because of that. Now, it turns out there was a bunch of speculation that like the GoFundMe is raised, like they started a GoFundMe and a Give Sing Go, and it's raised like almost $500,000, maybe more. How much has the fundraisers for Carmelo Anthony? I mean, you've named your kid after a basketball player with not the most. So it's fundraiser for Carmelo Anthony on Give Sing Go has raised $481,850. Now there's people saying, oh, they moved into a gated community house and they bought a Cadillac. They actually said they haven't touched any of those donations yet. So we will see what, that looks like. But I mean, people have just like tried to make this kid a celebrity now. And then you've got this is just blows me away. They want to make a comparison to Kyle Rittenhouse. But this is a panel of 10 people, and Kyle Rittenhouse, they talk about him there. And so just listen to what the media brain rot has brought on.
Name a white person that killed a black person that is not or have not been held accountable in the last 5 years.
George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman wasn't even white.
Just say one thing. I just want to answer your question. Who killed who or whatnot. Cal Rittenhouse was 17 years old, white boy that murdered two or three black kids in Michigan during a
Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 or 3 black kids in Michigan.
protest. He was acquitted on all charges.
Now let's see if anybody comes and says no, that's not true. Let's see.
Jordan Penny, I think that's his name. He choked out that black homeless man on a train in New York recently. Was also acquitted of charges. So, and I guess
neither one of those was killed. Stop.
You know, but he was pointing out like why.
So nobody knows that. So we talk about how horrible misinformation is. These people believe that Kyle Rittenhouse killed black people because that's what they were told. And then they had this really messed up press conference. I didn't watch. I watched a couple of the highlights of the press conference the other day, but wow. Their spokesperson is like got a bunch of 501c3 things, but he keeps changing it every few years. He's never filed an IRS, document about his 501c3. So, this just the standard, the regular crap that, that this is going to be that's a mess. That whole thing is a mess. I just that we're at a point where you can stab somebody who's completely unarmed, and that gets you celebrity status. I'm just That's all I got to say about that. All right, couple more things. 2 more things. And then I think we're going to try and get some dinner around here. One was this meme kind of just sums it all up. This is an actual space capsule. This is Barbie's Fun Time space capsule. This sums it up. The ridiculous Blue Origin 10-minute ride into shallow space is probably the most ridiculous freaking thing that's come down. And these, and then Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary the other day, had a great one. Because, this thing is a mess. So let's see. So Not that one yet. So we got Blue Origin. We just completed our 11th human space flight and the 31st flight of the New Shepard program. The astronaut crew included Isha Bowe, Amanda Nguyen, Gail King, Katy Perry, Carrie Ann Flynn, and Lauren Sanchez. To date, New Shepard has flown 58 people to space. So Sean Duffy, which, I mean, this is kind of poking. This is kind of trolling, I would say, but it's freaking funny. The U.S. commercial space industry is an inspiring project which showcases American ingenuity and exceptionalism. But the last FAA guidelines under the Commercial Space Astronaut Wings program were clear. Crew members who travel into space must have demonstrated activities during flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human space flight safety. The crew who flew to space this week on the automated flight by Blue Origin were brave and glam, but you cannot identify as an astronaut. They do not meet the FAA astronaut criteria. Now, is that a little petty? Yes, but sometimes we need a little petty in our life because, my God, I get that it's just the freak out and the people and you know just some of the I don't even know what the word is, just the indignation that you're not taking us seriously. Well, the entire flight was less than 11 minutes. Less than 11 minutes you were on this entire journey. And yet you're going to cry because people don't want to take you seriously. My goodness. And then the door thing, like I don't know if you've seen the door thing. This is just stupid. But this has gone viral about the thing. So they basically, you can see here.
What's going to come out of
So this is the broadcast. As you can see, they're at the ship or the capsule or whatever, and they start to open the door from the inside. The door is opening.
her mouth, but really her heart.
And they're like, no, shut it. Shut the door. Shut the door. Because Jeff
Bezos out there right by the capsule.
Jeff has got to come. And
here goes Jeff Bezos to open the hatch.
So now we have to have the ceremonial opening of the hatch. Which it just looks like a freaking screen door. I mean, it just kind of flops open. I don't know that I want to go to space in a capsule with a door that just looks like it's just flops open, like it's plastic or cardboard or something. Like he barely even looks like he twists it, right? Like he gets the thing in there, he barely twists it, and the thing just bloop. Like this isn't hermetically sealed for space travel. But it did come open before that. You can see the hatch starts. They start to open the hatch.
Her mouth, but really
and they're like, no, close the hatch. You got to shut the hatch. And then to come out and kiss the ground. And I get it. These folks are performative. This is what they do. They perform for people. But you were in space for like 3 minutes and you were on the capsule for 11 minutes. And I guess Wendy's posted this and is like, Wendy's reacts that Katy Perry's returning from space following the Blue Origin launch. Can we send her back? That was their post. And Wendy's social medias get a little spicy, right? And so of course, Katy Perry, it was all sad because Wendy's is not even a fan of hers, but this is very odd and distasteful from their marketing team. Oh my God. People get a damn sense of humor here. All right, I gotta see because Katy Perry came out saying that, you know, maybe she wanted to try and take action or something. Wendy's, Katy Perry. Yep, it's comical that Katy Perry might actually sue Wendy's for trolling her. Space Forage on Twitter. Can we send her back? And then Katy Perry's team thinks Wendy should apologize for mocking her space trip. People magazine. Katy Perry deserves an apology from Wendy's for blatantly inappropriate Blue Origin comments. Exclusive source. Oh my God, get over yourselves. It's a corporate freaking Twitter account that just likes to troll people. The way Katy can legally sue Wendy's for a death threat tweet. A death threat tweet. They better delete and apologize. Anything involving Katy gets a lawsuit. They should know that by now. What? The way Katy Perry can legally sue Wendy's for a death threat tweet. This person thinks that was a death threat. Can we send her back? Is a death threat to Katy Perry. Oh my God. Yeah. So yes, we got that. Then we had Olivia Munn. I like Olivia Munn. Just saying. Olivia Munn calls out the Blue Origin space trip. What's the point? It is historic that you guys are going on a ride. I think it's a bit gluttonous. Space exploration was to further our knowledge and help mankind. What are they going to do up there that's made it better for us down here? Exactly. I like that she said mankind too. So yeah, good on you, Olivia Munn. You rock it. All right. Lots of people have been critical of it. I mean, it's a fun little thing. I don't think it's not something that they actually, it has really no bearing on space travel. It's a cool little gimmick that you travel to, the very tip of the atmosphere. You don't really even, I mean, there's no re-entry. There's no there's no superheated structure on this thing because they're not actually leaving completely the atmosphere. So there's no actual coming back through and having to, this was the one. Kissing the ground after your 10-minute flight into space. It's silly. It's good on you. You went to space. That's fun. It's a touristy thing. William Shatner did it. There's more people that are in line to do it. That's great. All right. Last thing of the night, Kid Rock. Basically sharing some stuff about the mainstream media. Now, Kid Rock set up the Bill Maher trip to the White House. Now, if Bill Maher had come out of that trip to the White House and that dinner with the president and said that, that and said derogative things about the president, it would have been on every channel. It would have been on CNN. It would have been on MSNBC. They would have covered it nonstop. They would have covered it breathlessly. That, Bill Maher said this and that bad about the president, and he thinks he's, not competent or whatever. But that's not what Bill Maher said. Bill Maher said they had substantial conversations, that President Trump was a good listener. He actually listened to him. He was very capable. He had a good mastery of all the topics that they talked about. And he mentioned a couple times about the listening, that he actually, some people wait to say the next thing, right? That they're waiting for you to get finished so they can say their next statement. And some people actually listen and then ask questions. That's a big part of the how to win friends and influence people. That was a big part of it, is actually being the person that listens, because the person that listens is going to be more regarded. It's going to be higher regarded, because people want to talk about themselves. So if you give them an avenue to talk about themselves, they're going to think, man, that guy's really cool. He just, it's because he listened to me. So this is Bob's response, Kid Rock's response to this.
There's something that's been weighing on my mind concerning this dinner with Bill Maher and President Trump, myself and Dana White. It's bothering the hell out of me, but it's really no shocker. I've always tried to be reasonable and get my news from different sources, not just Fox, although I love Fox News. I've TiVo'd the ABC and NBC World News Tonight. I watch a lot of the Sunday news programs. But what the fuck? This dinner, I stuck my neck out to make this dinner happen. There was a chance it could go really bad, and that I might lose the president's trust, over lining this thing up. Thank God it turned out so good. I think it's, like most people, it's such a positive thing for this country, and a message of, having some civility between reasonable people who disagree. That was proven. But what the fuck? The mainstream media, MSM, I've seen zero on NBC, ABC, CBS. I don't think I've seen anything on CNN. I saw something that the Washington Post is trying to, of course, change the narrative that, that it was a bad thing, or that Bill Maher got played or something. What the fuck?
And in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big story, but it definitely deserves some coverage. It definitely deserves a mention at least. And he's right. There's been no coverage of it. There's been no mention of it. There's been nothing. And that's part of the issue, is these companies get to decide what they cover and what they don't cover. And when they don't want to cover something, when they don't want something out there, when they don't want attention brought to something that might look good for some people, they will completely ignore it. And if they'll have to be dragged kicking and screaming to cover some things, and eventually they will, but then they'll try and put their own spin on that anyway.
This is something, no matter what your politics are, it should be a positive thing for our country. And I could care less about the accolades. They don't have to mention my name. I could give a shit. But there's no doubt that this is something positive for our country. And none of these motherfuckers can say anything about it. That tells you everything you need to know about these people. They're fucking retarded. I'm done with them. I'm not in this cancel culture, boycott bullshit. You do what you want, but until there's some changes at these places at the highest levels, people who run these news organizations, and fuck you anchors too, who report this news. because you're nothing but fucking puppets. You sit there and read off your prompter or call yourself a journalistic reporter, this, that, and the other. You have no fucking backbone. You know, most of you know this is a positive thing that really helps our country out, but I guess it paints President Trump in some sort of good light. So you're like, no, we're not going to report on it. And I mean, that goes, I haven't even seen anything on the local news here in Nashville where I live. And I can only assume that comes from the top. So fuck you motherfuckers sitting up in your high offices making these fucking decisions that do nothing but hurt and divide our country. In my book, you motherfuckers are public enemy number one. God. So there.
Kind of mad.
Got it off my chest.
Kind of upset.
I think I'm 1,000% right on this. So mainstream media, I'm going to refer back to a very old song of mine, Devil Without a Cause. When I say, fuck all you hoes. Have a great day.
Yep. I'd like it. Only Kid Rock can put something like that. That's yeah. So that was his thoughts on the thing. This is what I was talking about. Gail King.
And I don't like that people are calling it a ride. A ride, you know, you never see a male astronaut who's going up in space and they said, oh, he took a ride. We actually duplicated the route that Alan Shepard did. That's why it's called, this particular capsule is called the New Shepard. We duplicated that route. No one said he took that ride. Yeah. It's always referred to as a flight or a journey. So I feel that that's a little disrespectful to what the mission was and what the work that Blue Origin does. We use space technology all the time, whether it's your GPS, whether it's your satellite. That doesn't just happen. Every time a flight goes up, they get some type of information. Two of the astronauts, I still have a hard time calling myself an astronaut, but two of the astronauts.
Because you're not.
I don't like.
You're not an astronaut. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's just too funny. I don't. It's, you know, when a man does it. Okay. Mm. Yep. All right. So next time, probably get into some more editing of our show, but also this was kind of Marco Rubio did a op-ed for the Federalist too. And so we'll kind of look at that too. This is kind of that on the same topic of dismantling the censorship industry, and actually admits that the Federalist was maliciously censored by our own government. So our own government, as we already know, through these non-government organizations that have, you know, no reporting responsibility to anybody, no oversight from any government, but yet they're funded almost exclusively by the government. We need to knock that off. That needs to go away. And then, Murkowski had some stupid thing the other day where she said she's scared to say anything and everybody's scared. Well, if you're scared, you don't need to be a senator. You should just resign because you're worthless. But we'll get into that next time. Probably Tuesday. We'll do a little bit of that, or maybe we'll do editing. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway. All right. Thank you for hanging out. Oh, also Tuesday, we've got, Tuesday is the opening statements for Karen Reed. So, I have a lot that I want to do, don't I? Good Lord. I am ambitious. I guess ambitious is the word. Not crazy, not a nutcase. I'm going to call it ambitious. All right. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all later. Good night. Have a wonderful night and an even better tomorrow.